Become a wealth creator today. Text VISIT to 800-454-1184 to schedule your 15-minute call with Eric and his team. That's VISIT to 800-454-1184.
You know, any time is a good time to break a bad habit, especially with your physical health and your financial health. And that's what Eric will discuss today on Wealth Creator Radio. We're so happy to have you along. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. This is a show where we talk about retirement planning. Eric is located right here in Silicon Valley, and he is here helping people have remarkable retirements. In fact, he's done this for almost 30 years, and he will continue to do this because it's his mission for you to have lifetime income and help you weather most any economic storm, especially in times like this. Eric is a certified financial planner. Here is the phone number, 800-454-1184. Call for a complimentary appointment, 800-454-1184. Now, you can also text the word toolbox to that same number, and it includes Eric's book that he has written and a bunch of other educational materials. Just text the word toolbox also to that number, 800-454-1184. You can get our show, just listen to it on podcast if you would like to do it that way, wherever you get podcasts. Also on YouTube, just search for Wealth Creator Radio. And our website, wealthcreatorradio.com. Eric, hello to you.
Hey, Luann. Good to be talking and going over what people mess up a lot, I guess is the best way to say it, is not having that plan.
And here's what we're talking about. Only about a third of Americans have a written plan. So a lot of us are winging it when it comes to spending, and that's not good. How do we break that bad habit of living without a budget, Eric?
Yeah, well, so most of the clients I work with are people, in their 50s and 60s, and they're doing that shift from working life into retirement life. And when you're working and hopefully the kids are finally off the payroll and out of the house, right? Mm-hmm. If you're both working, making some money, you usually don't need a budget. You're doing fine. But that does change when you're hit retirement, because it's a little scary when you don't have that paycheck anymore. You get maybe some Social Security checks if you're lucky enough to be one of those rare people who have a pension. But for most of us, we need to start withdrawing money out of stuff, and we have to know, what is that number? What is that withdrawal number we need? And that's when you need to have a budget, really. So, yeah, that I think is one of the key things for people to start realizing is, it's really the bigger effect of retirement isn't how much money you make, it's how much you spend. You can make 1 or 2% more, and it's going to make a tiny difference. If you spend $500 a month more, it's going to make a huge difference.
Right.
So yeah, that's why this is so critical.
Very critical. My husband and I, we were living without a budget all those years when our kids were growing up. It was terrible. We were hardly saving at all. But we changed, right when we hit our 50s, we were like, oh, we better do something. So we quickly downsized, and now we're out of debt and saving our money as much as we can. But yeah, a lot of strategies involved in making sure we don't spend down our money too quickly. Another way that can happen is the fact that fees can really impact our retirement assets. Why don't you talk about some of those, please?
Yeah, well, you do want to make sure that you're paying attention to your portfolio, making sure how it's all set up, and where that money's coming from. In terms of the budget, one quick answer there is to what I like to do is the no BS budget, which is take your last 12 bank statements, either online or printed, whatever. Just add up all the withdrawals and divide by 12. It's that simple. If you're paying off that credit card, hopefully every month with that checking account, you don't need to look at your credit card because you paid it off from the checking account, right? So it's in there. And unless you move some money into like savings and it stayed there, or move money into investments that stayed there, though, if you did do that, then you could add those back in. But otherwise, just add up all those withdrawals and divide by 12, and pretty much guarantee you it might be 20 to 30 to even 40% more than you think you're spending. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the ways that you figure out that whole budget issue. In terms of fees and costs, that's obviously another thing. When you're doing that budget, you might want to look at how many of those subscriptions and other things that you're not using, right? That's the thing that, kind of nickels and dimes us now.
Right, yeah.
But in terms of the investment fees and costs, you can, if you're spending a lot of money on higher price funds, or, sometimes I see people with some companies that they had maybe some of these, a lot of times if it's a mutual fund only company, I find those ones are usually higher fees. A lot of times people did those, 10, 15, 20 years ago, and they've just kept these accounts. And so that might be the kind to be looking at. Ideally, you just want to be buying individual stocks and ETFs. Those are the lowest cost in terms of fees. So, any fee that you can save obviously is more money in your pocket. But it's just fees are, I always say fees are whatever you get, whatever value you get out of them, right? So it's not necessarily wrong to pay a fee, but, if you pay for Netflix and you never turn it on, that's a waste of money. But
big waste.
If you've got several teenagers, they're always listening or watching it and doing stuff. So, you probably get more than the value out of it. So again, are you getting the value for that fee? And that's really, to me, the bigger issue is, is that fee valuable? Is that person doing what they're supposed to be doing? Are they getting you closer to your goals or farther? Are they, if you're paying fees, are you getting tax advice? Are you getting, advice about having a, written income plan? I mean, that's what we do here at Heckman Financials. We actually help people build that blueprint to worry less wealth. And that entails a couple different things. One is, making sure you got that income plan. How long will that money last with the taxes, inflation, everything? Look at that investment plan. How much risk do you have? Is it in the right spots? And then look at the taxes, because all three of those things are, super interrelated. Obviously, healthcare is a big issue. And then lastly, legacy. Who's going to get your stuff when it's gone, when you're gone, and is it set up right? So, those are the 5 areas of the blueprint to worry less wealth. One of the things we have created here is a great digital toolbox. So this toolbox has all sorts of great downloads of, will your money last as long as you do? Are you spending too much money in taxes in retirement? What's the right way to claim Social Security? Even a way to set up a time to meet with me. To do all that, all you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And we're so happy you joined us today. This is Wealth Creator Radio with my friend Eric Heckman of Heckman Financial. And you just mentioned taxes. Leaving taxes, or tax breaks, I should say, on the table is another bad habit that we need to break. Talk about that, how you guys help people create strategies to help people get on track, keeping more of their own money to use in retirement.
Yeah, well, exactly. The big key there is just paying attention to it. And I find most tax people are tax reporters telling you what happened last year and not really giving you advice in the future. And most financial advisors will say, "Oh, we don't do tax advice," which I think is horrible. So here I am, I am a licensed tax return preparer. We do give tax advice, and nowadays, depending on which, like if you want to buy a high dividend fund, is it better in your Roth? Is it better in your taxable account? Is it better in your IRA? Well, that really depends on your situation. So not only is it investment allocation, but it's also investment placement in terms of where is the best place to have those different types of investments that give you the least tax bill over your lifetime. Not 1 year, but over your lifetime is what we're shooting for. And are you using the most things you can? Are you, doing the Roth IRA? Are you doing those after-tax 401ks and converting to Roth? Or, more you can do tax-free and get the government off of our backs, hey, we're all going to be happier, right?
Big time. Yeah, big time. And we do have a short window of opportunity to implement those strategies to save on taxes. The problem is we're all procrastinators, and that's a habit we need to all try to break. So what's your message to people who've been procrastinating on creating that plan for retirement, Eric?
Well, do it sooner than later, right? I mean, it's already later, I guess, if you've already been procrastinating. So, but you just need to at some point take charge. Nobody else is going to be there for you, right? You're not going to get, financial aid or government aid to be retired. You need to be doing it on your own. So it's all onto you. So get that plan going, because once you have that plan, it is amazing how much more freedom, how much less worry, how much less stress you have. And that's why our process is the blueprint to worry less wealth, because we want you to worry less about your wealth and enjoy life and go out and do the things you want to be doing. So, again, if you want to get a copy or access, I should say, to that toolbox, the digital toolbox, it has my book, Worry Less Wealth. It's got a spot for if you want to set a time to talk with me or Heckman, but a lot of great, really short, quick reads that you can download about different topics. all you got to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox 800-454-1184 or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And we'll be right back with more from Eric. Stick around.
Do you know whether your retirement plan has any weak points? Discover ways on giving your financial future the proper tune-up. Simply go online to wealthcreatortoolbox.com to gain a better understanding in taxes, Social Security, and other ways to manage your portfolio.
And that's how it's done.
That's wealthcreatortoolbox.com.
Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman. And in our country, medical bills are not only the most common reason for bankruptcies, but they directly cause a whopping 66.5% of them, making them the leading cause of bankruptcy. So my goodness, a healthcare emergency, a catastrophic illness, or even an accident can not only knock you off your feet physically, but also financially. And Eric, I know you've seen this a lot, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, certainly. And I mean, you can't prevent bad things from happening. Obviously, you can try to stay healthy, work out more, get good sleep and, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, sometimes there's an accident, emergency, medical diagnosis. And you have to, focus on making things get healthier and hopefully helping people and ideally not focus on the financial side of things, right?
Right. Not have to do that. But, healthcare is expensive. We always talk about the fact that Fidelity, tells us the average 65-year-old couple is going to spend a lot. It is over time, $315,000 on healthcare costs. And that is for a healthy couple, does not include long-term care. And that's where the expenses really go up. So costs can be big when we're talking about healthcare in our country. And that's one thing that you guys do is help people be prepared for the worst, but then hope for the best. So talk about how you help people, keep an accident or an illness from financially ruining them.
Yeah, well, obviously once you're 65, you do have Medicare and usually it's pretty rare somebody doesn't have a Medicare supplement. So, that does help for a lot of stuff, but there is still co-pays, out-of-pocket type stuff that you have to pay for. And then the probably sneakiest one's really dental. Dental's the one that really... That's the one that really, well, I guess I shouldn't say, sneaks up and bites people, but kind of does.
Yeah.
That one, I think the highest I've had is one client had $28,000 in 1 year of dental work. Once you get the implants and all that stuff, and obviously your teeth don't get better in retirement, right? So yeah, and there's not, for some stupid reason, our health system considers the mouth not part of the body almost.
I know.
Right? So,
I can't understand that because if you have poor teeth, it can affect your heart and so many other things. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And then, also vision and some other stuff. So yeah, you do have to be, making sure you have that as really the way we help people is just making sure we count it as a line item. We have your fund, which is all the vacations and trips you want to take. And, you also have to have the medical fund, right? Having some money sitting there that's going to be there, that's going to be accounted for. It's not going to be necessarily every month or every year, but you want to have it kind of in the budget. So that way, when it happens, then you're prepared to be able to, make those co-payments and such. And again, that wasn't even talking about long-term care. That's, like you said, long-term care is even more expensive. That's when you really have to be spending down assets.
And Eric, what else doesn't Medicare cover?
Yeah, well, like we said, dental's the biggest one, and vision, hearing aids. That's, something you'd think should be covered for somebody who's getting older. Yeah, overseas care. If it's super emergency, sometimes they'll cover some stuff, but not much. Obviously, cosmetic stuff's never really done, and chiropractic stuff. But and then the one that there is a lot of misconception on is nursing home care. So basically, the rule there is if you are in a hospital, you have some illness, and then you get sent to a nursing home for recovery, which does happen a lot. Like say you have a hip replacement or something like that. Mm-hmm. If you come from a hospital to a facility, the absolute most and pretty rare is they'll pay 100 days,
right?
Which is 3 months. Beyond that, never, ever. Mm-hmm. And they'll try to get you out of there even faster than that. So now if you didn't have something that was hospital related, and say, you just had an outpatient thing, but then you needed to go into something, then they're not going to cover it.
Ooh.
So, so that's the thing that you have to watch out for, because that long-term care, isn't covered. And so what you need to do is you need to make sure you've got, some money in there to pay for all those things, and a plan. For me, it's not about the first spouse that gets sick. It's what happens to the second spouse, who may have to live 20 years longer without a lot of that money.
Unless,
and so, that's the plan that you really need to do. And so, what we find is having some tools, having some resources is really the biggest thing. So, one of the things we've put together is a lot of great stuff like Social Security, timing decision, will your money last as long as you do? My book, Worry Less Wealth, and even a link to set up a time to talk with me, Eric Heckman. All you got to do is text the word toolbox to get access to all these great materials. Totally free, just quick downloads, quick reads. Again, all you do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, that's text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
Yeah. And also at wealthcreatorradio.com, you can find out when Eric will be having events too. So all kinds of topics that we talk about on our show, you can sign up there on his website. Thank you for joining us. You are listening to Wealth Creator Radio. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. Eric, what would you say is what most people overlook when it comes to planning for healthcare costs in retirement?
Well, like I said, just a lot of this stuff that's not covered. That's the sneaky ones. And then, really just having it in the budget. One of the things I always talk to people about is, okay, what's your take-home pay today? And let's try to live on, see if we can get that same take-home pay. Well, most people get their insurance through their work. So your take-home pay is after you've already paid for your health insurance. So you have to add that back in, which people kind of forget about. So, and if you're trying to go under 65, oh my gosh, you can talk easily $1,000 to $1,300 a month, per person for insurance. If you're trying to retire at 60, 62, something like that. So you better have that in the plan.
Right. Oh, dear. So why don't you talk about that transition that happens when we are working our whole lives and we've been saving for retirement. Then we're in retirement and we need to protect our savings from all kinds of risks. And then specifically right now, what I want to focus on is just the increasing healthcare costs.
Yeah, well, obviously everything just increases in retirement, right? So, so you need to have things growing. You need to have some money that's guaranteed, some money that's going to always be there, but also have some stuff that's growing. There are a lot of great tools out there now. There's some guaranteed for life payments where if you need any sort of long-term care, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be in a facility. It could be home care and stuff, but they'll double your income for up to 5 years. So it's not really,
awesome.
It's not insurance, but it's going to get you, you already have a lifetime payout coming in. And then if you get extra money, hey, that's just going to help. Right. And, there's some other tools where, you can put in, say $100,000 and they'll triple it if you ever need long-term care. So there's things that you can do that aren't, long-term care insurance where, it's kind of like car insurance. Unless something bad happens, you don't get any money out of it. Right. So there are ways that to plan for this and to really have some money there, when you need it. But again, a lot of it just goes back to having, those 5 areas taken care of, that income plan that shows how much money you're going to live, that you're going to need for the rest of your life. That is the most critical thing to have, is that income plan, knowing what taxes, inflation, everything, all these costs that are included. Then that'll tell us where you should be investing your money. And then obviously the tax ramifications along the way. Healthcare costs, of course, is one of the big 5 there. And then lastly, legacy. Who's going to get your money when you're gone? So once you have a plan for those 5 areas, I mean, you have a plan even if you didn't do one intentionally.
Right. True.
So not doing any planning is a plan. It's usually not the best plan. It's not, that's when the world happens to you, not for you. And so, what we really want to do is, kind of rethink that and say, okay, well, what can I do to improve on this, right? How can I get this to be a lot more beneficial for me? What are the things that we're going to need? Obviously, there's different ramifications if you're single, if you're married, if you have kids or not, right? Because hopefully the kids might help you, but you probably shouldn't count on that.
No.
If you're married, then okay, there's somebody else that can help for a while, but at some point that may be too much, and you need to start paying for care and such. And then, of course, if you're single, well, more likely you'll need care sooner because there's not going to be somebody there that can jump in, right? So, you need to have a plan for this. You need to figure out all these different things of, who's going to be taking care of your money, who's going to be taking care of you, and then again, planning this all out. So it's not fun. It's not super exciting, right? You'd rather be planning that vacation. But, if you do take the time out and get this done, then it's amazing because then you can have a lot more fun vacations. You can actually build in planning for all that stuff. But I think, with the whole part about the bankruptcy stuff that you were talking about earlier, it's just that's sadly just people just didn't plan, right? I mean, we all know healthcare costs are expensive. It's not something that's new, right? They've been bad for decades, and they're not going to slow down ever. So, that's one of the things that we need to do is have a plan for it. So again, if you want to set up a time to talk or get at least our digital toolbox, all you got to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
70% of retirees are going to need some type of long-term care in your lifetime. We're going to talk about how you can plan for that coming up next on Wealth Creator Radio.
Be sure to like and subscribe to Wealth Creator Radio so you can stay up to date on ways to build your wealth and create a retirement you and your family will enjoy for years to come. Like and subscribe today and create your wealth for tomorrow with Wealth Creator Radio.
Hi, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman. At least 70% of people over 65 are going to need some type of long-term care, and that's according to the Administration on Aging. So it's not really a sure thing, but there's a good chance that you or your spouse are going to need some type of long-term or nursing care of some sort. The costs, of course, vary by location, but I guess the median cost of a private room in a nursing home is over $100,000. So, Eric, people need to realize long-term care is not cheap. And, like we said before, it's not covered by Medicare.
Well, and it also doesn't cost $100. It's, a shared room in the Bay Area is at least, 10,000 and 10,000 a month to 10 to 12. So,
whoa.
Yeah. So, you should be really planning about 150 to, at least 120 to 150,000 right now, and that's before things get more expensive, right?
Yeah.
So these are not things that are covered by Medicare. I mean, when I started 30 years ago in the business, the odds were about 50% that people need long-term care, and it's not that we're falling apart more or something like that. It's just stuff that used to kill you. Now you take a pill for it,
and we live longer.
And, you live longer, but sometimes your body doesn't really hold on and work out as well. So so that's one of the things that you need to do is have that plan to be able to have that money. Now, obviously, if you're single, you could be spending down all your assets because if you're ill and stuff like that, that's fine. But especially for a married couple, it could be it could be really devastating because if you spend $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 on one spouse, that other spouse may be around for 20, 30 years after that, and not with that money, not with that income, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that, you definitely need to have some planning around this.
Right. For years, that standalone long-term care policy was kind of the only way to address these types of illnesses or whatever. And people used to say, at age 60, you got to get your long-term care policy. But there's better options for today's retirees, aren't there, Eric?
Yeah, well, the hard part about all those policies is they used to all brag, we've never had a rate increase. We never had, now you can't find a company who has not had a rate increase.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen 100%, 37%. My record is 268% over 3 years.
Whoa.
And so it's more about, if you've got traditional long-term care, it's more about how much are you going to cut? How long can you keep affording to pay for it? So, it's really, really tough. And again, it's there's high odds that you'll need it, but it's also pretty expensive, and the premiums are not guaranteed. So if you bought it today at one price, in 5 or 10 years, it could be 50%, double, triple, quadruple. And I've run into people where they're in their late 70s, early 80s, and considering dropping their long-term care. Well, when do you need it? More likely, right then.
Right.
But
Don't
it's gotten
drop it.
so pricey. I mean, literally for some people, it's their property tax is cheap compared to their long-term care, and it's like their biggest bill now. And so, there are better options. There are some really great products. There's some stuff that's tied to life insurance where you just dump in money once and you're done. And then if you never need it, it pays out some money at your death. If you need it, they use it up. And that one I like just because one of the two is guaranteed to happen.
Right.
Right? So,
yeah.
And then there's also some annuity products where they'll sometimes double or triple for long-term care. So there are some things where you can get some extra benefits without really giving up money. There's some trade-offs, obviously, right? You're not going to make maybe as much or earn as much, but you're going to have a lot more benefits if you end up needing them. And like you said, 70%, especially if you're a married couple. Well, if it's 70% and there's two of you, right? That means one of you should probably, statistically speaking, have some issues. So, definitely time to be looking for some better options out there.
Right. Now, what would you, I mentioned, they used to say at age 60, you need to look for long-term care. When's the ideal time to start preparing for these long-term care needs?
Well, I really like to do it while somebody's still working.
While working, okay.
Yeah. So say if you're going to retire at, say, 65, there's one account where you can fund it for 10 years and be done with it. Well, then that means 55 would be a great time to start that, right? Because you could be, dumping the money in while you're still working. It doesn't cost you as much. It's not something that then you need to add into your income plan for retirement because it'll be paid in full by then. And so that's where I think it's a lot better. And then obviously, if we're talking about some of these tools where you're repositioning assets to get long-term care benefits, the sooner and earlier you do them, the better off you're going to be. So I would say, really late 50s is kind of the ideal time, even early 50s potentially. But I mean, you can still do it in your 60s. It's just going to be, less benefit, less timelines, right? So just like anything, the sooner you do it, usually the better.
Right.
So.
And so this is all part, when we talk about having a plan for retirement, healthcare is even part of it. So we have a lot of offers that people can get in on. And I want to talk about your toolbox and all the educational materials that they can get out of that. So why don't you kind of go into that a little more for us, please?
Yeah, so the toolbox is just a real fast way for people to get a lot of great data. So, it's got some short things to read, 10, 15 pages of like, will your money last as long as you do? Are you paying too much taxes in retirement? The Social Security decision, even empowering women investors. Obviously, it's got a link to set a time to talk to us for no cost, no obligation. So, if you have got actually direct questions, and you want to talk to me, Eric Heckman, you can do that. And, and then even we have a link for a digital download of my book, Worry Less Wealth. So, there's a lot of great stuff up there. It's stuff that, you can just get educated. And then, once you have some of that information, then reach out to us if you want to talk some more or not. But I think to me the biggest thing is just having people get educated first, getting some of that information. There's so much confusion out there. So get some real data. So all you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184 or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And you're listening to Wealth Creator Radio with Eric Heckman. I'm Luann Fulmer. Eric, let's talk about people who are single and what do they need to be thinking about in case they're incapacitated and unable to make decisions on their own?
Well, first and foremost, they really should have a lot of this stuff, set up correctly, right? Have a trust. If you got a trust, that means you have a trustee that'll take care of your money. And then typically part of that trust will also be a thing called a durable power of attorney for not just healthcare, but also for financial management. Because can you imagine you're 80 years old and you're required to take money out of your IRA every year or if you don't, it's a 25% penalty. well, who's allowed to take money out of your individual retirement account if you're ill?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's individual.
Good point. Yeah.
And so, so that'd be one thing to be, thinking about, making sure you have that set up. And then, also who would be that person for maybe if somebody who's really good with the money side, maybe somebody else who could, make sure your care is being taken care of and you're in a good situation. So, don't have to necessarily be the same person for both, but you really need to have something set up because it's only you, right? So, if you're not going to take care of you, who else will? So you definitely want to do that before things happen, right? And plan ahead.
Right. And then finally, how does estate and legacy planning come into play when we're talking about all of these healthcare and long-term care needs?
Yeah, well, I mean, how you're spending down the assets, obviously, like I said, the trust, the durable power of attorney, all that stuff's kind of usually in the estate planning kind of time frame, when you're working with that attorney. So, getting that all set up, making sure that's all in the right spots. And sometimes there is special planning that you need to do for somebody who's getting care. It could save you some money. So, if you're in that situation, reach out to us for sure. You don't want to mess up things. You want to do things the right way so you can get a little bit more government benefits ideally and not give it all away. So again, we can't really prevent those bad things from happening in life, but we can plan for them. And that's really what we're here for. So, I created the Blueprint to Worry Less Wealth for that income, investment, tax, healthcare, legacy plan. Again, we've got a lot of these great tools in our digital toolbox. All you got to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or you can download it directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And we'll be right back with Eric Heckman and more of Wealth Creator Radio.
Imagine your first day of retirement. What do you see? Let's turn that vision into reality. The first step, get Eric Heckman's Wealth Creator Toolbox. In it, you'll get information on some of the biggest challenges you'll face in retirement. Request your Wealth Creator Toolbox now by texting the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. That's toolbox to 800-454-1184.
Hi, I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman, president of Heckman Financial, where it's their mission to get you to and through a worry-less wealth retirement. Now, Eric gets questions all the time. People find out he's a financial advisor and they ask him all kinds of questions. Probably about the market, probably especially about retirement questions because there's so much involved there. So I know when you're off work, you probably don't feel like you're really off work, do you, Eric?
Yeah, well, there's always people to help, and we always try to help them out with that as much as we can.
What a good guy. Okay, well, we're going to bring these questions to the airwaves today, some retirement questions. So first question for you, Eric, is from Brent. And he says, I'm a few years away from retirement, but my mind's buzzing about my son. He just landed his first real job after college, and I couldn't be prouder. I'm looking to help him start his career strong without overstepping. Do you think it's a good idea for me to help him set up a Roth IRA?
Yeah, no, definitely. I've got 3 sons myself. So definitely the advice to anybody pretty much under 50. So not just only in their 20s, but anybody under 50, all you should be funding is Roth. Roth 401k, Roth IRA. Max out as much as you can. One issue with Roth IRA is there are income restrictions, and so depending on where you are income wise, at some point you may not be able to do it anymore. So that's kind of another reason for somebody straight out of college to be doing it. But the Roth 401k, which pretty much every company has, if they have a 401k, you usually have the Roth option now. And, that's just the normal, contributions that anybody can do. There is no income restrictions. So the more money you can get out of the government's hands and the growing on your side, it's huge because, if you put in, $7,000 into a Roth and it grows to $50,000 at retirement because of all those years, it was sitting there, right? Mm-hmm. That 50 is yours. But you put $7,000 into a traditional IRA, you might save $1,500, $2,000 maybe on your taxes. But now you owe tax on that entire $50,000. And not at today's brackets. At whatever the brackets will be way down the road when their national debt is very likely way, way bigger and larger. So,
Right, yeah.
so if you can get it out of the government's hands, this is really for anybody of any age. You can be converting to a Roth. Anybody, there's no more. Since 2010, there's been no income restrictions on converting to Roth, which means you pay the tax now, which nobody likes to do.
No.
But if you can pay the tax at a lower bracket and then have that money grow tax-free for a very long time, again, it's going to help you out. So yeah, go Roth when you can.
Go Roth. I love it. ROTH. So here's the phone number. If you do have questions and you want to come in and see Eric and our team at Heckman Financial and talk to them about converting into a Roth or setting one up, 800-454-1184. That's the number to call. And just so you know, again, if you don't remember, but this meeting is complimentary, okay? Here's another question as we dig into our Wealth Creator mailbag from Jonathan. And he says, I'm thinking about downsizing my home now that I'm retiring. Is it a more efficient choice to buy a smaller place outright or to invest more money and mortgage a new place? Oh, gosh, you probably get this all the time.
Yeah, well, actually, a lot of times I also get, should I not sell my house and just rent it out and then, then have a mortgage to buy another one? Because if you didn't sell it, right, you don't have the cash to buy the new place. And there's pros and cons to both ways. There's obviously being a landlord's a whole different issue and, all those stuff. I definitely, kind of almost specialize on accident in helping move people out of the Bay Area because it is so pricey and expensive. And so, I've got clients that have moved across the state and across the country both. And luckily with Zoom and everything else, they can stay being clients. But
love it.
But yeah, it is one of those things that I would say, probably 75-80% of the people who downsize to do this, the whole goal is to not have a mortgage. The goal is just to pay cash for a place. It depends on where you're moving to and what kind of things you're doing. Some people need bigger houses actually in retirement because they want all the bells and whistles and, they want the theater in their house and they want the, huge pool, the big workshop garage, which only comes in at the bigger house, right?
Right.
So, that might be a little bit tougher to do without a mortgage, depending on where you're going and, how much equity you got. But, I think most people prefer just to not necessarily, it doesn't have to necessarily be a smaller place. I had a client move from here to Lakewood, Colorado, which is a suburb of Denver. And his house, I think, is now a 4,000 square foot house just for him. And he sold his 2,000 square foot house here and paid cash for that one. So sometimes it's not smaller, but it's still paid off. So obviously depends on how much cheaper the area you're moving to is. So
right, yeah.
But then you have to look at the taxes. You got to look at all the other things. So that's definitely something where you want to get some more advice. You want to set up a time to talk with somebody. That's something we can easily do and kind of give you those numbers and give you those options. But one of the things we have set up here is this digital toolbox that not only can you set a time to meet with us, but you can also get a copy of my book, Worry Less Wealth. You can download lots of great little reports that are fast reads, like what's the Social Security dilemma, decision dilemma of when to turn it on. Will your money last as long as you do in retirement? Am I paying too much money in taxes in retirement? All these great things are sitting there waiting for you to be downloaded. So all you have to do is text the word toolbox to 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184, or download directly at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And we're so happy you're spending part of your day with us. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer here with Eric Heckman, and this is Wealth Creator Radio. We're digging into our Wealth Creator mailbox today. Another question for you, Eric. This one's from Jennifer. She says, I've recently come into an unexpected inheritance. I'm wondering about ways to invest or what to do with this money. Can you guide me on investment strategies that could help me avoid a hefty tax bill?
Yeah, well, let's see. The first thing you're going to probably do is buy a car. That's what almost everybody does when they inherit money.
That's funny, really?
So, hopefully not, Jennifer. But for most people, actually, when you inherit money, it's not typically a large tax bill because there's a magic thing called step up in basis at death, which it means if somebody paid $10 for $100 stock, they'd normally have a huge capital gain if they tried to sell it. But when they pass away, somebody inherits that stock at $100. So there is no more capital gain.
Okay.
Now, depending, I had one client that they held on to the house to get rid of mom's stuff, and they didn't want to throw it away, so they had to give it away. They promised her they would give it away to other people, and it took almost 2 years just to get rid of all the junk in there.
Whoa! Oh my!
And the only weird part is the house went up about $200,000 in value. So when they went to sell it, her and her brother both had to pay tax on $100,000 of taxable gain. That had they sold it right away, they wouldn't have had to pay the taxes on the gain, but they wouldn't have had the gain either.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a bad thing, but so for the most part, you don't typically have a tax bill. Now, one thing you have to watch out for is IRA money. Any retirement money is very, very, very complicated now. So depending on when the person died, you may have to take money out every year. You may not, depending on how old the person was who died, who left you the money. But you only have 10 years to spend it typically, unless that person was close in age, like a sibling. And so there's a lot of different rules, but the general gist of most inherited IRAs nowadays are you've got 10 years to spend it. So, when that person dies 10 years later, that money has to be gone to zero. So it used to be you could spend it out over 20, 30 years.
Yeah.
So definitely get some really good advice. Somebody who really knows what they're talking about anytime you're inheriting retirement monies, because of you screw up one piece of paperwork on that and there's no way to fix it. IRS is not nice about that.
Yeah. Dang. Okay. So best thing is for her to come in and talk to you.
Yep,
right.
for sure.
800-454-1184. I think I have time for one more question in our mailbag. This is from Jerome. He says, I'm 68. My wife is almost 60. We went to leave an inheritance for our children, but I've heard so many different possibilities. Wanting to know, is life insurance a good way to do that?
Yeah, life insurance can be a great way to do it. It goes tax-free to the kids and such. So the hard part is if you're 68 and 60, it's gotten a lot more expensive. But there are some specialty types of policies where you just dump money in and they kind of work more like a CD, but then there is a death benefit there. So that way, if you need it, you can take it back. If you don't need it, then they get some larger dollars. Those are usually easier to qualify for too. So there's lots of different options with life insurance. It's just matters on how much money you have and how much money you can afford to try to leave to the next generation, right? You want to make sure, that you're covered. But one of the best things about most life insurance policies now is they also have long-term care features where you can use that while you're living to pay for long-term care. So it might be a great way to protect your kids from them having to help you, pay for long-term care. And if you never need the long-term care, they just get a good inheritance. So, again, there's lots of different options out there. If you did want to set a time to talk with us, it's super, super easy. All you got to do is text the word visit to 800-454-1184. Again, that's just texting the word visit, 800-454-1184. Or you can book directly online at wealthcreatorradio.com.
And still more to come with Eric. This is Wealth Creator Radio. We'll be right back with the rest of our show.
If something's worth doing, it's worth doing right. There's a particular time of life this phrase couldn't be more appropriate. How can you know you'll live the retirement you've always imagined? After all, life can be so unpredictable. You've worked hard and saved. Watch your accounts go up and down with the market. Your advisor says, don't worry, you'll be fine. But you still don't feel confident. Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial has a checklist to help you find out if you're on the right track for retirement. Take his checklist challenge. If you can check all the boxes with confidence, you may be ready for retirement. If not, Eric can help you address any potential costly mistakes. To get Eric Heckman at Heckman Financial's complimentary checklist, call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. See if you've got it right. Take the checklist challenge today. Call or text LIST to 800-454-1184. Firm offers insurance services. Investment advisory services offered through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Be sure to like and subscribe to Wealth Creator Radio so you can stay up to date on ways to build your wealth and create a retirement you and your family will enjoy for years to come. Like and subscribe today and create your wealth for tomorrow with Wealth Creator Radio.
Hi, I'm Lou Ann Fulmer with Eric Heckman. He is president of Heckman Financial right here in Silicon Valley. And all right, we have come to the time in our show, Eric, where we're going to have you tell another wealth success story, because this is always something, it's just a really good example for us to see how things can actually work out for the best with retirees and hear about their situations. So what do you have for us today, Eric?
Yeah, well, this one's, we'll call them Al and Tina, but they came to me and, well, it was right before all the COVID stuff happened and stuff. And they were, Al was talking to somebody, this guy Jose at work, and they were, both looking to retire, and they were in those target date funds, those ones that are, have a date on them, it's like 2025, 2030 and all that stuff. And those are really just a 60-40 stock, 60% stock, 40% bonds. And, and he was just, well, I think it's, to be honest, it's probably his wife saying, don't screw this up. So, right. So she wanted him to talk with somebody. And so when we met, we kind of said, yeah, well, this is great for growth, but you need to start having income. It's going to be a big change. And it's a very big change when you start having to withdraw money out of this after 30, 40 years of, putting money in. Right. And so, we divided that up into the three types of money I always like to refer to, which is, not just market money, but foundational stuff that can't go away, some steady income. Then once he retired, well, obviously, if people remember, 2020 was a little kind of a crazy year with the shutdowns and all that stuff, and the market dropped and then started coming back up. Well, we were able to pivot during that drop to the foundational money and the steady income. And we didn't have to lock in any losses. We didn't have to change any of his market money. Then the market went up great. So we pivoted that next year to taking that money out of there. And then once again, the next year was kind of a bad year in the market. So we pivoted again to taking that foundational money. But all the time, that steady income, all those years was paying out some income. And so by having those options from, switching from one side to the other side, year by year, we didn't have to lock in as much. And Al at one point, told me the fact that, he was talking with his friend Jose, and he had huge losses. He had to sell off stuff when things were down, and he's very freaked out about his retirement. He still hasn't met with me, but Al's very happy because he's like, yeah, it is scary being retired, but now he's getting used to taking the money out and having that, and at least we're able to kind of figure out which way to take monies from. We're also blending in which should he be taking IRA money or just regular savings, regular investment stuff. So we're also looking at the tax aspects along the way, but just having some plan. They don't have to see all the news and see all the bad stuff out there and be freaked out, because they know, we've got a plan for this. This is what we've been doing. This is how we've been changing things. They know we're going to have a meeting usually every January to figure out how we're getting our income this year. If there's big changes, we get a hold of them. So by having that knowledge, it just makes you so much more relaxed, and just they can go off and have fun and travel like they've been doing, and seeing their families and doing all the stuff they've always wanted to do and getting that bucket list checked off. So again, that's why we set up the digital toolbox for people to get that great information. All you got to do to get that info is text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. Again, text the word toolbox, 800-454-1184. You've been listening to Wealth Creator Radio. This is Eric Heckman. I'll be back with you next week. And again, if you need to set up a time, 800-454-1184. Thanks for listening.
Information provided during Wealth Creator Radio is for illustrative purposes only and does not constitute investment, tax, or legal advice. Information has been obtained from sources that are deemed to be reliable, but their accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed. Always consult with a qualified investment, legal, or tax professional before taking any action. Annuity guarantees are based solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing company. Individuals should thoroughly review the contract for specific details of the product features and costs. Income payments and withdrawals from deferred annuities are generally taxable as ordinary income in the year they are taken. Eric Heckman offers investment advisory services through Heckman Financial and Insurance Services, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Any tax advice given as part of this presentation is not intended to be used and cannot be used by the taxpayer for the purpose of avoiding tax penalties securities or promoting, marketing, or recommending to another party any matter or transaction addressed herein. The views and opinions expressed in the program are not necessarily those of the radio station or its sponsors, and they should not construe as legal, tax, or investment advice. You should always consult the appropriate advisor before making any financial decision.